Up next on Inspiring Beauty and Believers.
We provide home. When she would go visit him for the summers, they would take all of these trips and do all of this fun stuff, and he'd buy her stuff, but it never be straight up discipline left and right, just loving her, period. So I just want to add about, I think Ajane was like 9 or so, and her father moved to Sierra Vista. And he wanted to have a relationship with her, but he was a little hurt at the fact that he thought that when he moved here, she was just going to run to him. And I explained to him that that's not going to happen. Why? Because in her mind and in her world, she has a mother and a father. She already has friends. She already has everything that she needs. So why would she run to you? Even though she knows who you are, except the difference is we provide home. When she would go visit him for the summers, they would take all of these trips and do all of this fun stuff, and he'd buy her stuff, but it never be straight up discipline left and right, just loving her, period. It's always he's trying to do something and make up and take her on these trips to Disney World and stuff. Mm-hmm. No, man, you need to establish that relationship.
Yeah.
There isn't a 9-year-old in the world who's going to call their parents or their father who doesn't live with them, or whatever parent that doesn't live in the house regularly.
Right. Yeah, just not gonna happen, man.
No.
Yeah. I asked Micah the other day, I was like, have you talked to your dad? And he was like, he texted me, but like I said earlier, man, and I explained that to his dad as well. Micah's whole world revolves around Fortnite. If you're not on Fortnite, you don't exist to him. And that's for us in this house too. Like, we can be downstairs eating, and if he's on the game, he's not going to come eat. And we live in the same house. Like, dude, you live way in Texas. Do you think, right? And I do better with telling Micah, hey, reach out, even if it's just, hey, how you doing, whatever the case may be. I do tell him to do that because, I'm a family guy. So that's just how I was raised. And, he doesn't, and I'm not going to hound them to do it. Do it. If you don't do it, if neither one of y'all is doing it, I don't care. And that's just me being honest. I don't care. And I tell it to Bree all the time. I'm not in competition with nobody.
But you're still making the effort to encourage it.
Exactly. Right. I'm not going to be in competition with nobody because you put your pants on the same way I put my pants on,
Yes.
And I guess as a father, I can't go a day without, playing with my boys. Whether I'm slapping them in the chest or, I just can't go a day without it. So to visually see somebody do it, I just can't have respect for nobody like that, Mm-hmm. I can't. And it's just, and I know he bought Micah a cell phone this last summer, and in my mind, you got him a cell phone, which means the communication should have got better. He know how to text, he know how to call, in his eye, you know how to FaceTime, and you established that direct line of communication. We didn't. I don't know, was you doing it? What was your purpose to getting the phone? But if you bought a cell phone and you're still not doing it, then I don't know what to say after that. And me and him have a cordial relationship where he texts me, right. And I tell him like, hey, this is what Micah wants, hey, you can meet me halfway or whatever the case may be, so I can put your input in it, or you don't, I just do it myself. it's going to get done, you know, whether you help doing it or you don't, but it's going to get done. I'd rather you help doing it. So when he do come, you know, to you, y'all can establish that. But if you don't do it, you know, I'm not going to wait on you to get it done.
Right.
You know, so that's how I look at it.
So for us, in the beginning, their biological dad was very, very involved. The kids would go out there, would go to Texas to see him during spring break and summertime. If he was in town, I would make sure the kids got to see him. Gradually, that decreased to where it became nothing. And eventually, he did ask to sign over his parental rights and allow Matt to adopt the kids. So Matt has adopted the kids, but he gradually just went away. Occasionally he'll come back in. Our son really has nothing to do with him at all by my son's choice. I encourage both of my kids, you know, reach out to him if you so choose. I bring up good times with him to help them have those memories. But their biological father was and is very abusive. So for them to be able to notice that isn't a healthy relationship has been good for them. But I allowed them to come to that conclusion on their own so that I wasn't alienating their father.
Right.
So what would you say would be the best advice you would give to someone that's going through or that is in a blended family and maybe struggling with how to find, I don't want to say easy route, but how to have a smooth transition or to help them to stay the course?
I need you to repeat that. I was hollering at Braden.
Hi, Braden.
He upstairs.
So what would you say, what advice would you give to a blended family that maybe, you know, going through a rough patch or something, but they're trying to have trying to find their way to, you know, stay together or get to where you guys are, where it seems a natural flow of the family?
I think remembering that stepchildren will seek to hold the other person, the new parent, at arm's length, and that we are teaching them as parents that we love them. And that doesn't mean that the relationship won't have ups and downs, but there's many opportunities to prove love to our children and strengthen them. I often in sessions will compare the love to the children as the way that Christ loves us. It's very sacrificial. He just loves us regardless of where we are and who we are. And I like to tell step parents the same thing. While they're trying to push you away, just remember to stay steadfast in that love, because they will push you away. Every child does it. They're going to do it to their natural parent. They're going to do it to their step parent. So I think that's the biggest thing, on top of remembering that we shouldn't measure our parenting ability by the negatives we do. I think it's very easy to lay down at night and say, oh, shoot, I missed this, and I didn't do this, and I didn't do that. But we fail to remember that our children have a roof over their head, and they went to sleep under warm blankets. They're probably hungry because they're children, but they had the opportunity to eat, and they probably did eat. So I think changing the parenting perspective too of what did you do well today instead of what did I miss today.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was listening to a podcast the other day that she sent me that was from the point of view of a child who was in a blended family and his torn loyalties between his biological dad and his mom. And when he would go to Florida to see his dad, he wanted to be back in Idaho with his mom. And that put it in perspective for me with my daughter, because she does have torn loyalty. She very much wants her biological father, but doesn't understand why he at times doesn't want her, and then at other times he does. And then, here I am working hard every day to show her, that I love her and that I'm not going anywhere, no matter how angry she makes me. She's my daughter. I will always love her.
Right.
I think it's that. So like with what Matt just said, she's my daughter. From the very beginning, take away the stepchild, take away that's your daughter, that's your child. Get that out of your language, get that out of your thought. If you accept them as your child from the beginning, it makes the whole transition easy. It makes all conversations easier. It makes the willingness to put forth sacrifice, whether it's working hard like Matt talked about, going out picking weeds, making sure they have a roof, whatever it is that you have to do to make life happen for your children, you will do. But if you look at that child as that's her kid, that's my step kid, then you're looking at that child as that's a child that can always go away.
Yeah.
But won't always be a part of your life. That's my thought. That's why I looked at my daughter as my daughter from the beginning.
And she is a daddy's girl. I just want to put that in.
100%.
As she is.
100%.
I agree, like with that, taken away, like you said, when you look at that child as a stepchild, you expecting, that child to go away or whatever, well, you probably gonna go spend high school with your mom, or you when you look at that, when you give that person that title, you're expecting those type of steps. But when you look at it, that person as your child, you like you saying, I'm accepting that. I'm going to accept you slamming the door in my face. I'm going to remove the door after that, but I'm going to accept those type of things.
Right.
And if you, and like I think Matt said it, I think your wife said it too, Susan, right?
Susie.
Yeah.
Your own child does that. So what makes you think your stepchild, that child coming into that family is not going to do it?
Mm-hmm.
That's just kids in general. I'm going to slam my door. I'm going to go upstairs. I'm going to stomp. They're going to do that thing. They're going to give you attitude. And when you accept that that's my child, that does make those situations easier. Because if you still saying that's my stepchild, well, if you give me attitude, you can go live with your mom or your dad. And that's how I kind of view that part.
And if you treat a child like that, then you're reinforcing in their mind what they already believe, that you don't want them, that they're easily, replaceable, and they're already combating with, you're coming in, my biological parent, my other one probably doesn't want me because they're not in the picture. And now you're trying to take my other parent away from me, and you don't want me. So, it's very important to teach these kids or show them through your actions, like Susie was saying, the sacrificial love of Christ. No matter what you do, I'm not going to stop loving you.
Right.
Yes, I'm going to have to discipline you. Yes, there are consequences for things that you do, but that does not change my love for you. And so sometimes we forget to make sure that we reinforce that, not just with children that we have not actually given birth to, but even with our own children. It's always showing that, because a lot of times, like Susie said, even your biological children are going to try to push the boundaries and push you away and see, will you still love me if I do these things?
Right.
Because they're always looking for that acceptance. So.
I think also there's a level of trust that needs to be established within the relationship. If you say you're going to do something, do it. Follow through with it. So with that level of establishing trust, they can see that, oh, I can trust you, oh, I can talk to you. Because a lot of what I hear or see is that sometimes the biological parent will say, oh yeah, I'll be there to get you this weekend, but they never show up.
Right.
And so that has the child's heart just aching because they trusted what this other parent said, but they didn't follow through. So with a step parent, and I put that in quotes, when you say you're going to do something, do that.
Right.
And that's it. That's all I got.
That was good.
So Susie and I have been talking about this for like the last week, and she like sent me all her 50 billion notes that I appreciate, but I'm going to let her share her thoughts and what the Lord shared with her on it. Because if a lot of people if you don't know, in the Bible, there are a lot of blended families. Sometimes it was good situations, sometimes not so good situations. Jesus was in a blended family, So thank God for blended families. It's not always the way that it was originally intended to happen, but there are blessings that come out of, the family that you get to choose, the person you get to choose to be the, mother or father over your children. Well, actually, you choose the other person too. But if that didn't work out, the next person you choose.
And that's kind of a good segue because one of the first things I saw, I read Ron Deal, The Smart Step Family. I got almost through chapter 1, but because I was trying to take notes and everything, it really didn't work out. Praying and listening to podcasts helped far more. But one of the things that he was talking about in his book was that the realities of step family living is overwhelming because of the unrealistic fantasies and disillusions that set in. He actually compared it to Exodus 14:11 through 13, where they're thinking the grass was greener on the other side. We should have just stayed in Egypt, or we need to go back to Egypt. And I think our children face that too. My bonus dad has now yelled at me, and my mom is on board, so I should just go live with my dad because he'll never yell at me. And I think that disillusionment is always there for kids. And so it's often remarriage is a second chance at that life dream. And many people feel like it didn't go as planned the first time, and getting remarried may feel like a failure. I know I came from a blended family that wasn't. I was raised by two people that were married. They're still married. They've been married forever. Whereas my biological parents, they were never married. And so for me, I have that example of marriage works. So when I got married for the first time, I saw all these red flags. I knew exactly what was happening, but I went into it thinking that the marriage certificate somehow, as soon as it was signed, that the picket fence built itself and the kids were born and the house was beautiful and the food was on the table. It was a complete reality check when things did not go that way.
Mm-hmm.
If you like this channel, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss next week's video.
And just loving unconditionally. It's super, super hard to transition for those kids who do transition from the two-parent household, and now they're split between parents, and now there's a new marriage and there's a new parent, and it's a lot to take in for a kid. And while they're extremely resilient, making sure that they know they're loved unconditionally is critical.